always like to start one of our segments for lifestyle gardening with what are the new garden trends for this year. So in 2020, we have a huge list of interesting garden trends depending on where you look and who you ask. Everything from the Garden Media Group to Green Industry Pros to Garden Design all have a little bit of a different idea about garden trends, but there are some consistent elements. Let's start with what everybody gets excited about in the gardening world and in the design world, and that is, what is the color of the year? It's blue. It's classic blue. So everything from garden containers to how you select plant material for the garden becomes really an excellent thing to think about if you want to change some color. Color pop is always a trend, and that is true this year. And remember that one of the classic color combinations in the design world is blue with yellow with silver. So it could be as simple as changing out your containers. It could be the napkins on your table, anything that really gives you that sense of blue. One of the interesting trends also this year has a great deal to do with who is gardening. And gardening for the beauty and the enjoyment is actually a trend that is up. While surprisingly, gardening for food is down, and maybe that has something to do with the availability of higher quality produce in many locations. We don't know that for sure. There still is a trend to be able to make a lot of pieces of the landscape have more than one purpose. So choosing plant material for its edibility, choosing plants for scent, and certainly for seasonal interest. One of the great trends and most interesting trends has to do with where people are choosing to live. And that, of course, is the growth of cities. So our environments are becoming very, very urban. And a part of that urbanism is spaces that are smaller, which we've talked about before, both on this show and on Backyard Farmer. And what that really means is maybe there is more gardening or landscape material that goes on patios or on rooftops, or goes vertical. So vertical gardening is also a trend. And that can be something as simple as growing a vine up a wall or up a trellis, or it can be more complicated and actually figuring out how to create a structure where you can grow herbs, you can do essentially a green wall. We also have great interest in simplicity and going to materials that are clean, contemporary, simplistic in terms of their management. And certainly one of the really, really important trends has to do with ecology, best practices, sustainable practices, taking care of the soil, adding in diversity for wildlife and for human intent, returning to native plant material to the extent possible given the conditions that we're working in, adding water to the landscape in a small quantity or a large one, being mindful of certainly the essential ingredients in soil, repurposing materials as opposed to starting over and throwing more materials into the landscape, considering going best practices, whether that is interpreted as organic or not, but touching the earth far more lightly and doing it in a way that gives you great pleasure as you work in your own landscape. So one of the things to take away from with garden trends in any year is, what are the trends that you love and you would like to initiate into your landscape, and are they trends that are long-term, that give you great satisfaction and happiness, that improve the environment, or are they those fun, funky little, let's just do this year, we'll see whether we like it, and maybe next year we'll do something different.